We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. In a society that loves to flaunt everything, it can be difficult to see and value the hidden motivations behind your successes. In this video, I will discuss 12 topics that we advise you to keep private. They are all interconnected and important, so watch to the very end to find out why. Your achievements. Imagine diving into the profound and obscure depths of your soul. The Stoics believe that this profound journey is similar to the quest of wisdom and virtue. Genuine contentment lies not in flaunting outward victories, but rather in self-examination and continuous development. Every obstacle and every battle should be waged in the quiet spaces of your soul, rather than in open spaces. If allowed to grow, ego and vanity have the power to become obstacles in the way of genuine virtue. A fixation with receiving praise from others ensnares you in a never-ending cycle of pride and empty acclaim. Genuine success isn't about winning praise, but subtly changing your community and fostering admirable values like justice, compassion, and wisdom. Challenges not overcome. Every step you take on the Stoic path toward virtue and insight has great significance. The detours and roadblocks are more than just impediments. They help to mold your character, carve out your soul, and impart to you the genuine meaning of grandeur. Your inner strength is determined by your internal struggles, which are frequently invisible, rather than by your outward victories. You may question, though, why the Stoics discouraged talking about difficulties that were not surmounted if they were so valuable. The answer lies in their keen understanding of human nature. They held that pride and ego might obstruct your judgment and cause you to become blind to genuine goodness. Constant quest for approval and attention from others is a mask that conceals your true potential. The Stoics did not value achievements that could be readily put on display as trophies were. They instead valued deeds that uplifted humanity and were based on virtues like justice and kindness. For them, the true measure of wealth was not the gleam of gold, but rather the purity of conscience and peace of the soul. At the core of this understanding was the idea of loving fate. The Stoics remained optimistic when faced with hardship. They tempered the taste of success and failure with composure, knowing full well that in the tapestry of life lies events frequently outside one's control. Your good deeds. Imagine a candle that softly lights a dark room. Its soft, unobtrusive light warms and illuminates everything around it. The Stoics saw kindness as being similar to this flame, believing that genuine generosity didn't need to be shouted from the summits of mountains or announced in public spaces. Fundamentally, it ought to be a modest and real act performed from a true desire to do good deeds without anticipating recognition in return. This perspective may appear odd in the self-promotional society of today. However, the Stoics understood the risk of making charity become a show. After all, if you boast about every good deed, you could unintentionally be looking for the transient warmth of applause. We love some attention, though, so do your good deed and subscribe. Maintaining your good deeds under wraps of anonymity gives you a precious time for introspection and intimate moments with yourself, allowing you to ask yourself if your acts were sincere or driven by other interests. This inner self-examination serves as a spur for development. Stoic philosophy is based on the idea that genuine kindness doesn't chase attention. It shows up as unassuming, sincere acts. Don't talk about your resentment. Have you ever experienced being entangled in a web of feelings, with each strand representing a resentful memory or a persistent grudge? The Stoic path of wisdom challenges you to consider the unseen burden of bitterness in great detail. Resentment acts as an anchor, keeping your spirit from moving freely through life seasons. But what if you could take a less traveled route and make empathy and forgiveness your devoted allies? This historical viewpoint is underpinned by an uncompromising emphasis on virtue and restraint. Harboring resentment or bitterness restricts your freedom and inner peace, binding you like an unseen chain. It's interesting to learn that resentment frequently originates from miscommunication. The Stoics therefore urged us to try to understand others before passing judgment and to look for the reasons behind their acts. Therefore, in this way, forgiveness is not just a selfless deed, but an act of great insight that unlocks the mysteries of the human soul and releases you from the bonds of negativity. When nourished, resentment and anger are like scent poisons, flames that devour your peace of mind and overall well-being. However, if you take the route of understanding and forgiveness, you come to a peaceful oasis. You are so reminded of a universal truth. The secret to your own freedom is forgiveness. It serves as a lighthouse that offers you safety in the calm harbor while guiding you through emotional storms. By accepting this lesson, you come to see that sometimes the greatest power is found in letting go, in breaking free from the bonds of the past and moving forward toward a peaceful and understanding future. Your deepest dream. Imagine holding a fragile and rare seed in your palm. It stands for your deepest hopes and most passionate dreams. How would you shield it from strong winds and storms to ensure its growth? The answer comes from the wisdom of the Stoics. They viewed our aspirations and goals as these priceless seeds that were meant to be sown deep within our souls, away from the harsh winds of other people's judgments and opinions. Who hasn't, after all, felt the flame of a dream go out too soon when it meets the heat of mockery or the cold of skepticism? True achievement and wisdom are internal resources that you can constantly draw from rather than something to be shown off. Seeking ephemeral external validation is pointless when you can discover depth and direction within the depths of your consciousness. Being silent about your ambitions is not a sign of timidity. Rather, it is a conscious decision to walk in humility and avoid the pride that can occasionally blind you. Your next steps. Imagine a chess master moving their pieces silently as their opponents attempt to decipher their next moves. This is the path of the Stoics. They understood that by revealing every move in their lives, they could be subject to the whimsical winds of external judgment, often laden with criticism, envy, and even maliciousness. By keeping their life strategies to themselves, the Stoics were not simply concealing their plans, but strengthening their inner core of confidence, independent of the tides of opinion that flow around them. Don't talk about others. Criticizing other people is like tossing stones into a peaceful lake, causing ripples that break the tranquility of the water. The Stoics realized that passing judgment and making criticisms of others was a distraction from their own inner reflection and a waste of precious energy on things outside their purview. They used to lend a hand rather than criticize. They led themselves with empathy and compassion, understanding that each individual is a whole universe with struggles both internal and external, happiness and sadness, triumphs and setbacks. It would be an affront to the diversity and complexity of the human condition to criticize someone else. Instead of bridges, criticism often builds walls between people. Discord and hasty decisions result in conflict and division rather than harmony. Take responsibility for your thoughts and words. Turn your attention to your own introspection to find virtue and growth rather than dwelling on the shortcomings of others. The whispers of self-doubt. Have you ever been on the verge of making a decision only to have the whisper of doubt draw you back? These silent whispers, what if I fail? Am I good enough? Are questions that lurk in the background of our minds, pulling us back from our potential. Even if it could be tempting to voice these fears in the hopes that someone would disagree, a Stoic recognizes the importance of keeping them hidden, at least until they are properly recognized and dealt with. Your doubts stem not from outside happenings, but rather from your perceptions of them. This realization, which comes from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, implies that facing our inner critics rather than projecting them onto the outside world can be a life-changing event. The world, particularly as it exists now, has a tendency of amplifying our fears. The moment you confide in someone else, an inundation of contradictory advice appears out of nowhere, adding to the chaos of uncertainty. Any expression of self-doubt may turn into a public show very rapidly. Instead of sharing them, take these voices on. Talk to them. They don't need the world's attention. They need yours. Your moments of solitude. While many people want to engage in activities and interactions every second, the Stoics found strength in silence. They didn't see loneliness as a void that needed to be filled, but as a haven where the thoughts may wander unrestricted by the judgments of others. In contrast to popular belief, the Stoics welcomed solitude during their alone times. Instead of feeling alone, they felt a part of a vast, insightful inner universe. In the modern world, where many people prioritize getting validation through social media, Stoic philosophy asks us to reassess our priorities. When we let go of the urge for constant exposure, we create a place for our souls to breathe. We find the symphony of our essence in this profound stillness. It is a tune that can only be felt, not shared. Your progress. When a caterpillar turns into a cocoon, a significant internal alteration takes place that is hidden from the external world. Imagine if the caterpillar felt compelled to announce every little step forward. Not only would it be disruptive, but it might even interfere with its metamorphosis. Like this marvel of nature, there's an unquestionable purity to keeping the specifics of one's own development private. Every step you take to better yourself, every insight you gain, every moment of self-realization is a priceless experience. But not all treasures are intended for public show. Some are intended to be experienced deeply. Although sharing can be healing and even inspiring to others, the Stoics place more emphasis on the value of introspection than proclamation. Taking pictures of everything has practically become second nature these days. The haste to vlog about inner problems, publish a personal milestone on Instagram, or tweet a thought sometimes obscures the significance of the experience itself. Before you share, pause. Ask yourself, is this for validation or a real connection? There is an important difference. There's a sobering insight, drawing again from the Stoics and maybe thinking back to the meditations of Marcus Aurelius. Sometimes it's wiser to rise silently across the great waves of personal progress rather than to make an announcement at every turn. In the end, your developed self's final destination will speak louder than any update ever could. Personal wealth. The Stoic philosophy promotes a neutral view of financial wealth. According to the Stoics, financial prosperity is ephemeral. It's transient, it comes and goes. An obsession with wealth may quickly result in jealousy, unhappiness, and a never-ending quest for more. It diverts your attention from the things in life that really count, including morality, discernment, and inner peace. Talking about money matters, and showing off one's assets might lead to jealousy and pointless comparisons. It inflates ego and shatters social equilibrium. Always remember that material riches are temporary possessions, not a gauge of someone's success or value. The flow of your emotions. The canvas of life is painted with the broad brushstrokes of happiness, grief, love, anger, and a host of other emotions. Even while it's normal practice to display our emotions in public these days, particularly in the age of real-time status updates and stories, there are still benefits to keeping some emotions inside. The act of exercising restraint is not about repression. Rather, it is about realizing that emotions are very intimate, frequently intricate experiences. Real-time sharing of them might not always capture their true essence, and occasionally the outside world doesn't handle raw emotions with gentleness. Consider the well-known Stoic Marcus Aurelius. Even though he was Rome's emperor, he had deep emotional introspection that he recorded in his own notes, which are now called meditations. These were personal reflections intended just for him, rather than lofty declarations made in public. His reluctance to share his innermost thoughts in public serves as a mirror for you to look at yourself. How frequently do you take the time to really sit with your emotions before expressing them to others? The culture of today rewards rapid thinkers, but keep in mind that it can be wise to let feelings settle down to truly understand them before sharing. Speaking is silver, silence is golden. When you learn when not to speak, you can become a more virtuous and successful individual. Do you want to discover more strategies for growth? Watch our next Stoic videos and continue your journey.